This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust that you will consider this your vitamin and supplement for your mind and heart today. And if you could do a favor, wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom? And if you could leave a rating and a brief written review, it would be very helpful and enabling others to be able to find this podcast. Today I want to talk about productivity ideas that you haven't heard before. Now, since I'm well aware that there's nothing new under the sun, let's say it in another way, probably not the ones that are the most common. Productivity is in my wheelhouse. It's something I'm very, very interested in and try to continually hone my skills of being productive for the hours that we need to put in. And so, over these podcasts, I have told you to do things like develop routines, have a morning routine and an evening routine. Well, that's fairly common, typical kinds of things that someone would mention to you when they're talking about productivity. So I'm not saying that those aren't vital or important. They in fact are. But I want to spend some time with maybe talking about 5 or 6 that just aren't as common. And another one that's very common, though very important, is whatever that hard thing is, that difficult thing, if there's a difficult conversation I have to have or a tough activity I need to participate in, I seek to get that accomplished as close to the first thing that day that I can. It just sort of relieves some of the pressure and gives you a better focus throughout the day as you're working on the others. But again, that's a fairly typical idea that someone will give you when they're talking about productivity. I mean, there are lots of them. They're like blocking yourself in time, figuring out what your routine work week would look like. And I understand, I am just like you. There is no week that's routine. As I'm reflecting back over this past year, there have not been too many weeks that are exactly alike, but still you need some patterns. One of the other things that I have preached to you is to find what your most important tasks are. That's a part of my evening routine. I commit that there are 3 activities or 3 items or 3 meetings that I'm going to participate in the next day, and they are essential. They're so essential I can't go to bed tomorrow night until I've gotten those 3 done. And at least one of them needs to be goal-oriented. But those are all the common ones. So this has been a long intro as I've told you what we're not going to talk about today. Doesn't mean that we won't revisit those. I'm just a firm believer in all of them. But I want to give you, 5, 6 today, productivity ideas that you just don't hear a lot. And it may very well be that at least one of them may resonate with you, and it may be something that you can incorporate into your life. The first one will be one that folks would not think they'd ever hear me talk about. And that is, be careful on the amount of apps and electronics that you use. In other words, you can get to the point, and I just went through this exercise last week and I'm going to finish it up next week. There are a lot of what I call dead apps on my iPhone and my iPad, meaning that somewhere along the line I was convinced it was a good idea that I could not live without this particular app. It was going to make a tough chore more easy. It was going to free up time. And a lot of times we get in and we use it, and either we don't particularly understand all of the fine points of the particular app, or when we get in and begin to experiment with us, quickly it becomes very apparent that we were oversold on something. And maybe you're not like this, but I have a tendency to allow those apps to just populate a couple of my devices. And every once in a while, when you're decluttering, that's an excellent area to declutter. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be. I'm always on the lookout. as you know, most of the things that we find that help us are things that one of our friends or colleagues actually pointed us in the direction when they would mention, hey, I have used thus and such an app, and it has really helped me in you name the area. And you may ask them a couple of questions, and then you go and you try it. Here's why you have to try everything for yourself. No one is an authority figure for your life but you. I can give you ideas of things that have worked for me and that have helped me and have moved me down the road, but I'm my own unique person just as you are, and we're all created a little differently and we operate a little differently. And so if you find that something that I do does not help you, it doesn't make me wrong or you wrong. It just means you work in a little bit different area in a different way. You have a different kind of take on things. But I believe there are hacks and tools and ways of doing things out there that will resonate with you and will help you to be more productive and effective. But I think I'm trying to now become a little more minimalist in my life, and that is kind of pare it down to what are the apps that you find essential. One of those for me would be Evernote. I could not imagine life without it. I not only file things there, I start projects there as well. It's one that's pretty important, and it would have to be a mighty fine item to come along that could replace that. Now, I'm not saying it won't happen, because there are a lot of very creative people out there trying to create some new things. But identify the 3 or 4 or 5 electronic devices as well as apps that really help you to be productive. And know that if you're going to add a lot of new things, you're going to have to let go of some things. So this is really twofold. Just don't use a lot. Sometimes we're hunting for things so long that we don't have the time to do the work that we're actually being paid to do. So don't hesitate to give up on things, to go a different direction, to say that doesn't work for me. Limit what you use, but use what you use effectively. So that's the first tip that I want to give you that I've never given before, but I think it's one that's very good. Let me give you another one. Take time for lunch. Now, I developed a very bad habit of eating fast, and throughout my entire life, no matter how hard I try, it's something I can't seem to slow myself down for. The reason is that when I would leave graduate school, it was actually a seminary, and I was an office manager in a medical doctor's office about 3 to 4 blocks from the school. I had a little brown bag lunch, and I would eat my lunch from the parking lot of the seminary to the parking lot of Baptist Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. And I would eat my lunch while I was driving in those few moments. I was trying to, I guess before I even knew what I was trying to do, I was trying to be quick and effective and efficient and manage my time. But it has given me a lifelong habit that is terrible, and that is sometimes I don't just eat food, I inhale it. And so one of the things is lunch is called a lunch break. Most Americans who work take less than 30 minutes for their lunch break. Now, perhaps where you work, they only give you 30 minutes. But if they give you a little longer than that, I'd say rather than going from 30 minutes to an hour, why don't you take 45 minutes? And even if it doesn't take you that long to eat, it may be that you just need to rest, catch up on some personal items. It may be that you just need a change of scenery, walk around, do something different. You cannot keep your nose to the grindstone for 8, 10, 12 consecutive hours. And the lunch break is a time to refuel, re-energize, perhaps talk with someone, listen to someone, listen to a podcast, listen to a book. Just take some me time. I think it will make you more productive the remainder of the afternoon and the day if you take sufficient time off in the middle of the day. And like me, can you begin to try to eat a little more slowly, savor the moment, live in the moment? It's all right to slow down and to take that time. I think that's a productivity hack in that if you take adequate time for lunch, you will refuel your body. You will have given yourself a break from what you were doing, and I think you'll find that the rest of the day you'll be a much more focused individual. The third productivity idea that I want to give you today that you don't hear a lot of is periodically. I'm starting to do this once a week. What I'm at, I heard someone say it and it resonated with me, and I've incorporated it for the last few weeks. And that is, make sure that I understand every week what my main responsibilities are. I'm sure that my position is like yours in that there are a lot of things that go into making up what it is you do for a living. I know there are lots of responsibilities you have with your family, your home, your social network, your church, or other kinds of charitable things that you're involved with. But would you just kind of sit down and remind yourself, here at my work, here are my main responsibilities. These are the things that I am responsible for and no one else. If you're the pastor of a church, I'm assuming then that you are responsible for the Sunday morning messages and not other folks. So you need to make sure that's scheduled in your time. If you're the president of the company, then you would know there are certain requirements that the board is going to ask of you. The reason they put you there is because you can do these things, you and you alone. You'll say, well, why would I go and do this? I know what my main responsibilities. I think keeping it clearly in your mind is a productivity hack in this one major way. There are going to be a lot of people who want you to do things that really are not the thing that you are there for. It doesn't mean that you can't do some of them. But if you try to do everything that everyone who's ever lived tries to ask you to do, you will begin to neglect your main responsibility and your main responsibilities. So I think a good productivity hack is keep the main thing the main thing. Keep your main responsibilities ever before you because that's why you're there. Let me give you the fourth productivity hack that you probably haven't heard too many times. Are you ready? 2 words. Be honest. We listen. I'm a consumer of podcasts and seminars, and I read extensively. And you don't have to do any of those things very long or very often until you do hear a new idea, something you think, I need to try that. I need to try that. Well, I think I'll go that direction. And some of us just need to be honest. Be honest that some of the things that we think should be working, that Dr. Ron and other people tell us if you do this, it'll work, and it's not working. Listen, you have my permission, though you don't need it. You have my permission to throw out anything I've ever told you. I think a great inventory, just to take an inventory and saying, if these are my main responsibilities, the one item we just talked about, then let's be honest. How well am I fulfilling what my main responsibilities? Am I too distracted? Am I trying to fight in someone else's armor? Am I trying to be like someone else? Take the things that people offer to you, run it through your own filter, and make sure that it fits who you are. One of the greatest productivity things you can do today is to just sit down, calm yourself down, and be honest about where you are right now, what's working and what's not working. The fifth productivity idea that you probably haven't heard a lot of, this one you may have heard of somewhat, you've certainly heard it from me, but I believe it's neglected by far too many, and that is don't neglect exercise. Whether it's going for a walk, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's getting in a class, hiring a personal trainer, it makes no difference. Not only will it help your body to function, never underestimate the impact that exercise has on your mind, your spirit, and your emotions. So what I am going to say to you is you'll be much more productive if you take care of your body and exercise. Let me give you one more, so we'll stop with this one. This will be the sixth productivity idea that you probably haven't heard a lot of, and that is make sure you take notes. Now, I love electronics, but I carry a little notebook and a pen with me. So if someone gives me a piece of information they want me to remember, if they don't have their card and they give me their phone number or email address, I will write it down. The shortest pencil is always better than the longest memory. And I don't care how young you are, and even if you think you have a photographic memory, people share things with you. You must write it down. Then later I transfer it that evening, usually when I'm doing my evening routine, to where I can store it or where it needs to be. But it'll make you much more productive if you learn to take notes. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this has been like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. Limit your use of apps. Take time for lunch. Understand what your main responsibility is and review it often. Be honest with yourself. If something's not working or you're not using it, do away with it and go another direction. You're never too busy to exercise. You must take care of yourself and take notes, and don't forget to write it down. This is Dr. Ron saying, leader, you are doing better than you think you are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, have a great and blessed day.